everyone. My name is Kenneth Siropa, a grade 9 student from Apex Schools Das Marinas and the facilitator of our group. Today, we are going to talk about Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union, which was launched by Nazi Germany during World War II. Our objective is for students to learn the history of Operation Barbarossa, identify the mistakes made by the German and Soviet military in that operation, identify how the Germans quickly advanced into the Soviet Union's territory, identify how the Germans quickly recovered its strength from its defeat back in World War One, and lastly, relate the learnings acquired to today's national issues.
Good day, I'm Janela Marie Mariana Sacate, a grade 9 student from Apex Schools Dasma, and also a group member of Group 3A. In this video, we're going to learn about how the Germany was like after the war, and also what is the reason why Hitler needed the defeat of the Soviet Union when he decided to invade it.
Good day, I am Maria Isabella Romanes, grade 9 student from APEC DASMA and a member of Group 3A. My intent is to present the summary or conclusion of Operation Barbarossa during World War II. Being said, in the conclusion of this video, we could understand how the Germans failed their operation and how it affected several lives of innocent individuals. Of course, there would be lessons that could be related or applied in our daily ways in life.
After German surrender on the 11th of November 1918, a new government, popularly referred to as the Weimar Republic, rose to take its place. This government was forced to sign the humiliating Treaty of Versailles in June 1919. A new political faction began to emerge, the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or simply the Nazi Party, founded in 1920. And later on, the Nazi Party was able to take a full control of the government. They used the new secret police force, and Nazi built a system of violent oppression and surveillance attempting to unify the country towards one goal: war. Nazi decided to take the unemployment problem first. They simply distorted the members by encouraging young couples to get married through generous marriage loans, which removed women from workforce. The reduced pool of economically active people thus create the illusion of a falsely esteemed workforces. In addition to this, in accordance with Nazi racial policy, many Jews were forced out of their jobs or had their business confiscated and redistributed to non-Jewish businessmen who displayed loyalty to the party. Millions of Germans were able to find full-time jobs in Hitler's new arms factories. Hitler also fabricated the evidence that they were just producing passenger planes and agricultural tractors when in reality, they were producing war machines. Hitler also released a car program for all citizens, and many workers invested in this, but most or if not all the funds were invested into the rearmament program as well. And in 1935, mandatory conscription to the military was passed. Germany and the Soviet Union, governed by Joseph Stalin at that time, formed a deal in August 1939 in which the two countries pledged not to engage in armed conflict for a period of 10 years. Hitler invaded the Soviet Union because of the concept of Lebensraum, or living space. Hitler justified that he needed Lebensraum to ensure the survival of the German people. To achieve Hitler's dream of Lebensraum, it would need the defeat of the Soviet Union and the colonization of its resource-rich Ukraine. And apart from that, Hitler viewed the native Slavic population as racially inferior.
On June 22, 1941, Operation Barbarossa, the codename for the invasion of the Soviet Union, has been launched by Nazi Germany. It accounted for the largest invading force in history, which represented up to 80% of the Wehrmacht. By the start of the invasion, German soldiers took millions of Soviet soldiers as prisoners. The Einsatzgruppen, or armed SS death squads, followed in the army's wake and killed many civilians, especially Soviet Jews. Soviet forces were constantly encircled, and Soviet officers resorted to frontal assaults, which contributed to a lot of the casualties of the Soviet armed forces. Hitler also administered the Commissar Order, which authorized the immediate execution of captured enemy officers. Many Soviet prisoners of war were also killed immediately after capture, which is another violation of international war protocols. At the early stages of the invasion, Soviet tanks and aircraft were mainly obsolete. In addition to this, Soviet pilots were inexperienced and lacked training. Most Soviet pilots by that time only had virtually 12 hours of flight training, lacked nighttime training, and were also not trained to fly at high altitudes, where most of the German bombers operated. The German tanks were technically inferior compared to the T-34 Soviet tanks, but the superiority in ergonomics, optics, and visual devices in German tanks placed them into an advantageous position. The German tanks also had a dedicated gunner compared to the T-34, with the commander having the extra responsibility of handling the gun. This made the German tanks' fire rate 3 times faster than the T-34. Soviet tank crews had little time to train with their vehicles, which resulted in a lack of competent crewmen. The Germans also administered the blitzkrieg tactic, which is a tactic wherein it is a combined arms attack consisting of tanks, infantry, artillery, and air attacks. This combined attacks, together with the advantage of the radio, made the Germans coordinate effectively. German commanders had their tanks massed together to charge together into Soviet defenses easily, while Soviet commanders evenly distributed infantry and armored units along the front line.
The Germans had miscalculated the Soviet defense, which Stalin had effectively reinforced. The defeat of Hitler's Moscow attack was blamed on the winter conditions. However, the entire campaign had been hampered by an absence of long-term strategy implementation. The Red Army's willingness to resist to the last end was reinforced by Hitler's Commissar Order as well as the other cruel German acts. The military superiority of the European mainland did not fix the imbalance among Germany's objectives and resources as 1941, the year Germany lost the war, demonstrates. As the Battle of Britain demonstrated, Hitler lacked the naval and air power to force Churchill and the United Kingdom out of war. Had Hitler not hurried into attacking the Soviet Union, Germany would have had a chance to win. When Germany invaded Poland in 1939, the war began. In response, the United Kingdom and France declared war on Germany. On May 7, 1945, Germany surrendered, bringing the war in Europe to an end. On September 2, 1945, Japan surrendered, bringing the Pacific War to a close.
We learned that you always need to have a strategy or goal in order to succeed, and never trust anyone easily because we don't know if they're truly your friend or ally. Another lesson that we've learned from Operation Barbarossa is that in every action, An effective plan and teamwork is needed in order to be successful about your goal.
We can also learn that if you ever get caught by this certain type of situation, do not get greedy and cocky and change the strategy midway through the war. Thinking critically and focusing on what works and what is effective is essential in the art of war.
What we can learn from Operation Barbarossa is that trusting too much like Stalin did to Hitler can lead you to be betrayed. Another lesson that we can learn is that when you treat your enemies brutally like what Germans showed the Soviets, would lead you to pay 10 times the damage you have caused to your enemies.